Yo, welcome back to another episode of On the Spot Sports. And before we get to our guest today, we have a big shout out for Living Sisu. Living Sisu is a platform and app that wants to give you all the tools to have success in your sport. Their main objective is to activate your lifestyle. So it's for active people. Enjoy discounts at companies like BioSteel, 30% off, Body Logics, the Goalie Guild, all his books are discounted. Roan, Lululemon for men, 20% off, online stretching programs with Eccentrics, 1 full month free. They got super silent massage guns, 20% off those. And it's a great quality. It's way less expensive than a Theragun, and it's great quality. So there's so many more discounts that you guys will need to just become a member to see. So they want to provide you with anything you need for success. So come join the community. I'm a part of it. A bunch of other athletes are a part of it. So it's free to join. It takes 20 seconds to get exclusive offers to your sport, and it's definitely worth it. So do us a huge favor and go sign up for Living Sisu's membership. It's free, takes 20 seconds. So go do it, and we'll see you there. Living Sisu is a great company. We know one of the co-founders, Zach Fricali. He's a great guy. He's the co-founder. He does a lot of live streams on Instagram at Living Sisu, with a bunch of elite athletes, and you learn a lot from like the athletes' determination, their resiliency, everything to what made them become successful. So it's been a great experience so far. So go on. I'm gonna leave the link in the description. So go sign up. Yo, welcome back to another episode of On the Spot Sports. I'm Jack, and today's episode we're joined by a very special guest, current college hockey goaltender at St. Cloud State University, Eric Schmidley. Schmids he was my goalie partner in the Watertown Wolves free agent camp this past year, so it was great to get to know Schmids a little bit here before getting on the podcast. But Schmids has spent 6 years in the ACHA playing college hockey, with 1 year at Penn State University Berks, and then the last 5 years with St. Cloud State University in their D2 ACHA program. He also played junior hockey for the Oklahoma City Junior Blazers in the WSHL before going on to St. Cloud State. So it's gonna be a fun episode. I'm glad that we were able to get this thing going and get you on the podcast. It's gonna be a fun time. So welcome to the show, Eric Schmidley.
Thanks, buddy. Excited to be here.
Yeah, of course. How's everything going with you so far? Like you're busy year so far. So how's everything with that?
Yeah, it's been interesting for sure. Definitely a rebuilding year. It's been a bit of a struggle bus this year. Lost our top two lines. Some graduated, and then we had some that decided to drop out because just wasn't for them. Understandable, but definitely it was a big loss. So hard to kind of fill those roles, and it's been tough to get some offensive production. But it's been a good year personally, but team wise hasn't been doing super great. But I've just been enjoying the ride while I can. Won last year.
Oh yeah, listen, you're probably one of the oldest guys in the ACHA right now, if not the oldest. Well, at least somewhat close, right?
Something like that.
Yeah, entering six years now. It's like how's school and everything going since you're like hockey and school? Like, what's the how's that life going?
I mean, honestly, right now it's almost non-existent for school. It's pretty great. I have one class that I'm taking right now because that's all I had left. So I actually graduated in May of 2022, and I got my degree in business marketing. And then we got our COVID eligibility year. So our coach kind of convinced me to stay this year. So I decided to take that COVID year, and I'm getting a minor in business management this year. So I literally took 3 classes last semester and 1 this semester. So it's that's the bare minimum. So it's pretty easy. It's pretty easy workload. I'm kind of at the point where I already got my piece of paper. So if I get the minor, I get the minor. If I don't, I don't really care. But yeah, no, hockey, it's definitely been a grind. We practice with our team Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday from 8 to 9 a.m. every week. And then games usually Friday night, Saturday afternoon. But occasionally we'll have to do like a Saturday, Sunday, just depending on availability with the men's and women's Division I team. But it's been pretty fun too, because I actually get to practice with the women's Division I team. So that's been pretty fun. I get to do their skill sessions just because they don't want to gas their goalies. And I'm like, why the heck not? Free ice, and I have a bunch of friends on the team, so I just chirp them the whole time.
Gotta love getting on the ice and sending chirps to anyone that shooting on you, just and calling you their shots too, and like having you guess right. Like that's always the best thing.
For sure. It's awesome.
Yeah, but hey, one class isn't bad, and like easy workload. When do you have class?
It's all online too.
Makes it even better because you're literally just
Yeah. I
in your dorm
literally,
and house, whatever,
yeah, I'm not even dialed into school right now, honestly. Like I just did some assignments for the first time this semester today.
and you're still probably passing that class.
I hope so.
Yeah, that's unreal though. But to get things going with like your youth, I want to get into like your youth hockey days a little bit here. So you grew up in Morgantown, Pennsylvania. So what was youth hockey growing up for you? Through when did you start through like going up until you got to juniors?
Yeah, so it's kind of a crazy story. So I started skating when I was 3, and I started playing hockey when I was 5. And when I was like 5, so I did first year, I was actually a center. I wasn't even a goalie, and I was a center. And then we went to the Lehigh Valley Phantoms. At the time, it was the Philadelphia Phantoms, but AHL affiliate of the Flyers. We went to that. Was my first pro hockey game, and it was Neil Little and Ray Emery, the infamous goalie brawl and
Oh,
bench clearing brawl. That was my first game, and I saw Neil Little skate from his crease all the way down and just jump on the pile, and I immediately was like, "Yep, I want to be a goalie." And my mom told me I had to be the best skater on the team. So, my competitive ass, I was like, "Yeah, I'm gonna do it." So I did it, and then became a goalie, I think like a year or two later. And I've been a goalie ever since. But it was definitely a crazy childhood. So I started off playing with the Reading Junior Royals. I did Squirt B and then Squirt Double A with them. And then I did Pee Wee B, I believe, with them. And then there was some political crap going on that,
yeah.
mostly like parents were involved. So it's like, and I was miserable, and it was like, whatever, we had a parent that was the coach and his kid was the other goalie. So it was a whole thing. We wanted out. So I ended up going to the Lancaster Firebirds in the Delaware Valley Hockey League. Played there for Pee Wee Double A's and Bantam A. But my Pee Wee Double A year, I tore my groin. So I was out for like a couple months of that. Then I was back. And then the following year for Bantam A, I tore the other groin. So I had surgery on both of those. So it was kind of like a mess with that. And then ended up getting kind of sick and had, for people who know it, they'll know what I mean when I say it, but it's called POTS. It's a sort of a heart condition, but it basically, you don't get enough blood flow from your heart to your brain. So it causes you to pass out or have like partial seizures, stuff like that. And so I was in the hospital for 2.5 months when I was 14 or 15, same thing. But when I was that age, and it was kind of tough because they told me at one point, you're never going to play hockey the rest of your life because your heart just can't handle it. And then I basically said, screw it. Like I was in a wheelchair. I had to learn how to walk again and everything. It was nuts. And then I said, screw it. I want to try it. So I slowly went to like public skates, just kind of get my feet back under me. Went to those with a couple old teammates, I had some teammates come visit me in the hospital when I was there. So it was kind of awesome to have that support.
Yeah.
And then thankfully, like I still stayed in touch with the hockey director at Lancaster. So he kind of reached out to me. He was like, "Hey, heard you started skating. Like, you want to like come back and try and play? Like, we'd love to have you." I was like, "Oh, wow, that's awesome." So for my midget 18 double A year, that was like my first year back. We definitely should have been in the A team because we got our asses kicked that year. But it was awesome just to be back in net, back on the ice and back with the boys. And then, we went down to midget 18A the following year. So I did 2 years of midgets. And then at that point, I really wasn't like thinking about college, to be honest. So because of all this like medical stuff going on in high school, I ended up having to just drop out and get my GED because I had missed so much time that point it lapsed to about 1.5 years of time I'd missed of school, and no one was really willing to work with me at that point. So
Yeah.
the GED just made the most
You're already
sense
like
without
late to the program and everything then.
exactly. The GED just made the most sense to kind of get on with my life. And I was like, yeah, screw it. So I passed the first try. Not a big deal.
Not a big
um,
deal.
yeah, then it was actually in playoffs of my last year of midgets for 18s. We beat, it was the first round. We were playing the number one team, and like they killed us every year. I'll never forget it. It was Haverford Hawks. Hated them so much because they just murdered us. And we ended up beating them. We did, 3 periods. It was tied at 2. And then we did, I think, 4-on-4 OT and 3-on-3 OT, still tied. And then we beat them in a 3-round shootout, 3-2. So that was sick. And the Penn State Berks coach, he was actually there. I had no clue. But the game ended at like 12:30 in the morning. So, and obviously he had to get home too. And like,
Yeah.
he knew we wouldn't be out super quick. So he had basically just given some quick info to my parents. They passed it along to me. I'd reached out to him, given him a couple calls, met up for lunch with him one day, went on a tour and everything, did a recruit skate, and decided that that's where I wanted to go. I was like, this is awesome. Never really thought I was even going to be in college. And then for that to happen and them to say, yeah, you can play college hockey, that was sick. So got to play ACHA Division I there. It's definitely not a great situation there. All 3 goalies are freshmen, and we had 27 skaters, and 20 of them were also freshmen.
Very
So
young team
it
there.
was a very young team, and yeah, I'll just let the minds figure out how that went. And then just like, the work ethic and just some other like political BS that just I got sick of. I was like, I'm not dealing with this. It also was kind of weird because I never really got the full college experience that year because the Berks campus is 20 minutes from my parents' house. So to save money, I just stayed at home with them. So like I never really was more independent. So then after that year, decided to leave, try and play juniors. Actually originally signed with the New York Aviators and the USP. And then it was like a last minute thing where they needed a goalie because their goalie dropped out or whatever. And they called me. I was like, yeah. So I came down, like had like a tryout skate, whatever, made it. And then during training camp, it was like second day of training camp, tore my PCL on my knee. But of course it was like, or no, I tore my PCL and my MCL, but it was just a partial tear. So like it wasn't torn enough to do surgery, but obviously torn enough to where it doesn't feel too good.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, I wanted to play through it, but they're like, you're not playing through it. So then that was that. I was out for 3 months. And it was kind of weird because it was a last minute thing with them where they still didn't have a billet house for me yet. And then by the time they finally got it, I was like, all right, sick. Like they got me one. It was on the beach in Brooklyn. I was like, oh, this is awesome.
That's not
And
a
I
bad
was like,
place to be.
yeah, I was like sick, like they're like, yeah, 15 guys live there. I was like, in one house. I'm like, all right, like, skeptical. And then yeah, my bed was sharing a room with 2 other guys, and it was a wooden pallet with like a mattress topper on top of it. So I was like, yeah, no.
Good luck getting some sleep those nights.
Yeah. So like, and I was like, I knew with juniors too, you're gonna suck up a lot of stuff with that, especially living wise. And I was like, everybody would say, oh, you're a prima donna and stuff. I'm like, I'm not sleeping on a wood pallet. Like, I don't care what people say. Especially, I was like, I wasn't even 100% yet. I'm like, you want me to be 100%? Then no. So I ended up just saying, you need to get me like an actual billet house. Like, because they were saying they would pay for it. I was like, I'll pay for the billet house. I don't care. But get me an actual billet house because I know you have a list of people. I said, if you don't get me a billet house, like I gave them an ultimatum. I said, you got a week to do it. If you don't get it to me by the end of the week, I want my release. Came down to it, got my release. And then, so that sucked, but it just obviously wasn't meant to be. Everything happens for a reason.
Yeah.
Day before Thanksgiving, my buddy who was visiting for me, who also played juniors, he saw some Facebook posts from agent he knows, and they're like, yeah, Oklahoma's looking for a goalie, like ASAP. And so he gave me the guy's contact info, called him. Literally Thanksgiving Day, I signed with Oklahoma City. And the day after Thanksgiving, I flew out there. I was there. It was just a short stint there for, I was there for like 2.5 months. And then my heart stuff kind of like acted up a little bit. So all I had said was, look, I'll be back in 2 or 3 days. I just need to fly home. I wasn't even flying home at that point because I was kind of scared to fly. So I was like, I'm going to take a 36-hour bus ride home. So clearly that tells you how serious I was. Be like, I can be back in 2 or 3 days. I just need to go home to my doctors who like know my situation, so I don't have to re-explain it. It's what I mean with like having your own doctors, they know the whole thing.
More and more comfortable with them and everything. They know everything.
Exactly. It's like, and they know how to treat it and like kind of if it's smart to go back. And I was like, look, I'll be back 2 to 3 days. If it's nothing, if it is something, like we'll go from there. I'll let you know. They're like, no, we're just gonna release you. I'm like, cool, sounds good. Thanks,
Don't even
guys.
get a shot.
Yeah, I mean, I got 2 games played there, so wasn't mad about it. My first game was actually in El Paso. I got a story for you for that one. I mean, those fans, when I say they're nuts,
They're
think
nuts.
of just die hard. They'll kill people for they're that nuts. Like we were both at the time, we were both 23-0 and undefeated. We were both tied for first going into that weekend, and it was in El Paso. So we go there. They don't kill us, but they beat us, I think, like 6-2 or 6-3 the first game. Respectable score, but whatever.
Yeah.
Second game, I think it was 5-3, so a little bit closer. And I didn't dress in either of the first two. But then for that third game, our coach said, hey, you're backing up. If it gets bad, you're going in. So be ready. I was like, all right, sick. Because they had our starter who was 18. He was sick.
Yeah.
And they had him play all 3 games. So I was like, all right, sick. And it got to it. It was 4-0 with like, I think 8 minutes or something left in the second period. So he's like, yeah, you're going in. I'm like, all right, went in. And then I did well. But the kicker was that Saturday game, we had tied it up at 3 before it became 5-3 them at one point. Their fans got so pissed, they cut the brake lines to our bus.
Wow.
Yeah, like it was nuts, dude.
Wow. If that doesn't speak what kind of like the intense like fan base that they have there, like I don't know what does.
And then El Paso, like, for juniors, the home team always like caters for the away team and gives them like pregame and postgame meals. They tried to give us Chipotle for a pregame meal. Oh my God, our coaches were pissed. So we got something else, but it's like we were kind of petty then because we played them a couple weeks later in OKC, and we gave them both a chili for pregame meal. It was awesome. We were kind of like, screw you guys. Yeah, literally. And then they beat them too, so that was awesome. But yeah, after OKC, obviously just wasn't meant to be there, but got some experience, so that was awesome. And even though I only played 2 games, still got 2.5 months of just like practice time and experience with that. So that was sick. So then I was kind of, once like I figured stuff out with my doctors and like we figured out what was going on, like obviously I'm fine now. Like, yeah, clearly it's been 5 years since that happened and nothing's happened since then, knock on wood. But yeah, I had a couple options then. It's either, all right, go back to Penn State Berks, which did not really, like, that was kind of my last resort because I was like, they also got a new coach that year and he was not it. It was bad. So I was like, go back there, go to community college and don't play anywhere or transfer somewhere. And like my whole goal of doing juniors in the first place was I wanted to go NCAA Div 3. Yeah. I was looking at UNE, was looking at Newman because I had a connection there. I was like, and at the end of the day, I was like, I just couldn't see myself paying $60,000 a year to go to a Div 3 school where the first couple years I'm probably not even going to start. Not that I wouldn't work hard for it, but it's just that's a lot of money financially, and I didn't want to put my parents in that situation. Yeah. So I was like, all right, well, and my buddy who actually had kind of helped hook me up with OKC, he told me about St. Cloud. So out of nowhere, I'm like, all right, sick. Like, whatever. I looked in the school, I was like, yeah, I mean, looks decent. And so with the help of my mom, obviously, he surprised me and applied there for me. And then, I get an acceptance email. I'm like, I never applied here. Yeah, I was like, what? And so, I immediately call him because he's the only person, because lives in Minnesota. So he's the only person in Minnesota I even knew really at the time. I'm like, what the heck is this? He's like, yeah, surprise, buddy. Oh, sweet. So then anyways, long story long, called the coach there, talked to him on the phone a couple times, and he was like, yeah, we'd love to have you come out here. I was like, sweet. And then the rest is kind of history. Came here, loved it ever since.
Yeah, that's like an incredible like story path to from youth hockey to get to where you are now at St. Cloud State. And like just like the adversity that you face, because you face adversity literally since your youth hockey days with the pulled groins, the heart condition, all that. It's like what do you think, like what was the biggest like impact throughout like all that, just to help you just stay motivated like when things do go wrong like that, and then just to stay with it?
My parents 150%, especially my mom. Don't know what I'd do without her. Like, she is my biggest supporter, my best friend. My dad's the same way too. But obviously, you're always close with one parent, and
Yeah.
I'm ridiculously close with my mother. Like, I tell her everything, call her, talk to her every day. And I don't know what I'd do without that woman. She is a freaking rock star. Um, and I mean, I've also just been very thankful to be blessed with a lot of very good, like a very good support system and a lot of like close friends. Like, two of my best friends here are on the women's hockey team, and I met them my first year here, and we've been inseparable ever since. And it's just been awesome to kind of have that support, because then, we'll go into it where 2 years ago was COVID, and I was the only goalie that year, unfortunately. And 7 games in, I broke my ankle because I got ran into in a game. And so we had to have a forward play the rest of our games, which sucked, but and that was brutal. But it was
No other
definitely
choice.
adversity with, yeah, definitely was adversity with that for sure. And I was definitely depressed for a long time about that, because it was just like, this sucks, because then the following year is going to be my senior year. I was like, I didn't know, because I didn't know if we were going to get a COVID year, and I didn't know how that was going to go, if I'd even be able to play again. So they really supported me a lot through that. And so did my mom and dad. And I just don't know where I'd be without them, because they've been my biggest support system this entire time.
Yeah, and like that support system's huge, especially like going throughout school, like facing that adversity, going throughout any sport. Like you need those people to keep you like into it, because being like an athlete and all that, like the adversity that you're gonna face. Like you need support to help that mindset and to stay positive, even though when like everything might be going against you, like going like 0-20, 0-25, like those suck when you go through that. But like just to have that support system to just keep you even keeled and not get super down on yourself, and bring you up when you need it, and not be able to think about like the game and get your mind outside of that game.
For sure. And it's like, everyone, especially nowadays, like, mental health is such a big thing. It's like, you'd be shocked. Like, if you would have said even 2-3 years ago, oh, mental health is going to play such an important role in everything. It's going to be like all over social media now. Like,
I'm
people are
like,
going to
what?
recognize it. Yeah, exactly. And now it's like everyone's finally recognizing it. And it's like, it's been like this. People
Yeah.
just don't talk about it. So I'm glad to see that for sure. Cause like, I mean, I'm sure we've all been through it. Like, I've been through it a lot, honestly. And
Yeah.
it's honestly, it's so nice too to have that support system, because no matter how mentally tough you are, there's days,
Something's
hours,
gonna knock you down.
something's going to happen where you just need that support. And if you don't have that, it is so tough to bounce back from that. And so having that support has been huge for me.
Yeah, and like even like just like what you just said with like mental health and everything, like no one like talked about it. Like it's talked so much now, and like in like every athlete, like Twitter, like Instagram, like someone's posting about like Bell, let's talk, like just stuff like that. Like it's okay not to be okay, just stuff like that. So it's really encouraging on like how far it has come since like what, maybe 2-3 years ago, since like
Oh,
everything
absolutely.
started to come out, especially this year with how much it really has started to improve. And like it's known every single day that mental health is the number one priority over anything else.
Exactly. Like, you could even have employers be like, oh yeah, I need a mental health day. Even a year ago, they'd be like,
Yeah.
get out of here, I'm going to fire you. Now they're like, I understand that, like, if you need anything, I'm here. Most of them, there's still some that are like, get out of here, but like most of them are like, if you need anything, I'm here. And that's awesome to see that.
Yeah, I think ever since like the COVID year and all that, like it has gotten way more like noticeable, and like you're able to just tell that like everyone cares about mental health now. And like, I mean, not saying that no one cared about it before, but like
I feel
it's
like no one
more,
knew about it
yeah, no
before.
one knew about it before, but now everyone's starting to know about it and learn just what to see like when stuff does happen, and just like how to handle a situation.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, so it's definitely coming in the right direction. Hopefully, I think it will just keep going forward and getting better and better every single year.
Absolutely. It'd be awesome to see that continue.
Yeah, especially like Robin Leonard is probably one of the first NHL players
Oh yeah.
to like really like emphasize like everything that he's going through and just to really make it aware that just being at the top of the top like isn't always like super like cream of the crop, I guess you could say. And like you do have your downsides, especially like when you are in a lonely position like goaltending or
Oh
anything
yeah.
else.
And like one thing Braden Holtby always said that always sticks with me is, sometimes you mess up, you don't get any praise. You get yelled at and screamed at, booed at, told you effing suck. Then if you make a real big save that basically steals a game or keeps them in a game or
You're the
whatever
best
the
goal in the
situation is.
world.
Yeah, it's well, or sometimes it's either that or it's like you don't get enough praise. Like
Yeah.
they're like, oh, you're okay. But yeah, half the time it's like, oh my God, you're the best goalie in the world. And it's like there's just such a difference where you got to be so mentally tough to be a goalie. And it's sad because so many people just usually get, especially younger goalies, they get thrown into it because no one wants to be a goalie.
Yeah.
And then their mental health just diminishes.
Yeah. So like what do you do like when you are going through like those rough stretches? Like I know we've both gone through rough stretches with games and all that, games not going our way. So like how do you handle that situation, not let it bother you for like it's just like you're in the game and then after the game, like it's done. Like you can't do anything about it.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, so like in the game, heat of the moment stuff, that's a lot tougher and obviously easier said than done. That's
Yeah.
to kind of go through that. So I won't talk about that, but I usually just try and reset. If I give up a goal, whether it's a good or bad goal, I usually I do a little skate into the corner, come back, and then just do 3 deep breaths in and out, and then do a little water bottle squirt, kind of like reset my mind, reset my eyes, and then I'm good. But obviously, sometimes it gets to a point where you're just like, you have no help and you're just getting left out to dry and it's frustrating. But no, for post game stuff after a tough game, especially if it's something that's like, I know is my fault and I played bad, it's definitely a tough pill to swallow. I might be, like, I'm not saying like I'm going to go breaking things, obviously, but
Yeah.
I'm pissed off.
Yeah.
And I'm not just pissed off, I'm pissed off at myself because I felt like I let my team down. And so I'll be pissed for probably an hour or so at most after the game.
Yeah.
And then I usually just, especially if we're on the road, go to the hotel room, just watch some TV, relax, call my best friend or my mom usually. But if we're at home, I just come back, honestly, play Fortnite. Just kill a bunch of people on
There we go.
Fortnite.
There we
Kind of
go.
takes my aggression out and kind of calms me down. Um, it used to be really bad where, and don't know if I should
You're just
admit
on
this.
the game and you're just raging. I gave up shitty goals. Like you just get so heated up and worked up about it.
Oh yeah, well it used to be bad too where I don't know if I should admit this one, but sometimes I would just go out and get, like, obviously if it's a Friday, Saturday, I wouldn't do it until Saturday after the game, but I'd go out and get absolutely obliterated and not good decisions. But
We learn
yeah.
from those experiences.
Oh yeah, matured a lot that way. Bank accounts loving me for that one. But yeah, no, it's definitely not easy mentally after a game, especially when you do everything you can as a goalie. Like
Yeah.
you keep your team in the game, you don't give up all game, you're making huge saves and you're
You can
getting,
only do so much.
yeah, and you're getting 50, 60, 70 shots. Like we were talking earlier, there was that one game we played against St. Thomas. We got outshot 82-11, but I only gave up 5 goals. So clearly I did everything I could.
Yeah.
I'm like, I was happy, but it's like, it's frustrating because it's like the rest of the team just wasn't pulling their weight. It was nuts. The third period alone, I had 35 shots. I didn't give up a single goal in the third. I'm like,
Hey, that's a
what
little win
more
right there.
yeah, exactly. But I'm like, well, so like, it's frustrating. There's definitely the highs and the lows. Like, I'll never forget. Best moment of my life of college hockey so far was last year. We went into playoffs in the 8th seed, and then we were playing University of Minnesota. They were the number 1 seed, and mind you, they had beaten us 9 straight games in the last 4 years. So they had like a 4-year winning streak against us.
Yeah.
They're gross. They get 100+ kids at tryouts every year because the school is just so freaking big.
Sick uniforms too.
Yeah, that too. And they're just always gross. And it was tied 2-2 after the third. So even that was just an unreal moment. And then we had no ice cut, like a 2-minute rest period, and then 4-on-4 OT for 5 minutes, still tied at 2-minute rest. Then we had 3-on-3 OT for 10 minutes, still tied at 2. And then we get another, I think we had a minute break that time.
Wow.
And then normally, it's a 3-round shootout, best out of 3 wins. It ended up going 6 rounds. I only gave up 1 goal, and or no, actually, I didn't give up any goals. Yeah,
Perfect.
we went six.
100%.
Yeah, we won 6 rounds. Had 2 posts though, but I'll take
Those
it.
kind of saves in my book.
Facts. And then our captain, Jake Perkle, love that kid. He had the game winner basically, slid it 5-hole. Beautiful. And then it was up to me to kind of make that last save. And honestly, I don't remember if I got a piece of it with my glove or if it just missed wide. I feel like I got a piece of it, but either way,
But just
that was the
say
last shot.
you got it with the glove.
Yeah, we'll say I got with the glove. And it was like a Stanley Cup moment. Like, gloves went flying, helmets went flying, like it, because that was just the most unreal feat. And
Yeah.
that just summed up how awesome that season was. And just for the highs and lows, like that was such a high moment. Like I was crying that night because it was like
Means that
unreal.
much.
It was surreal because I literally knew how, because that was also, mind you, that was the farthest we've ever made it in my 4 years. Well, now 5, but in my 4 years at the time there, that was the farthest we had ever made it in playoffs. We never made it past the first round.
Yeah.
So that was really awesome to see that. And then when you talk about the lows, next day we're in the semifinals, because it's kind of dumb, honestly, how our playoffs work for WCCHA, because that's our conference. So the Friday night game is quarterfinals, Saturday night is semifinals, and then if you win both of those, you go to the championship Sunday afternoon.
Yeah.
So it's literally all 3 of those. It's best out of 1. It's stupid, but financially, like, I get it. It makes sense. So we were playing Wisconsin for Saturday for the semis. We tied them 4-4 in OT, and then they also kind of like screwed not just us but the whole league over with their schedules for home games. It would be like a 8 or 9:30 p.m. game Friday night, and then a 7 a.m. game Saturday.
Oh, yeah.
Now,
No time
honestly,
to recover.
I think that should just be illegal. I think there should
Yeah.
be set rules in like the handbook and everything that says you cannot start a game until, I say, minimum of 11 a.m. or noon on a Saturday, no matter what time the game was Friday. I'd say that should be the earliest you should, because I think it's messed up.
12 hours since the last game, at least.
Yeah. And so my coach was a dumbass, to be honest. Decided to start me again for that. I got an hour of sleep that night. Yeah. There were some of our guys that just didn't even sleep because they could, and because we had to be up at the hotel at 5 a.m. to head to the rink, because the rink was, because this is the messed up part too. We were playing at 2 different rinks. So after the Friday game, we had to pack the bus up, unpack it at the hotel, get the conference room, air crap out, because they wouldn't let us go to the other rink and drop it there. Then, pack the bus up Saturday morning at 5:30 in the morning. And because I was at that point, it's so early, we're not making guys get there, an hour and a half, 2 hours early. So we're just like, an hour's fine. So get to the rink at like 6 a.m., unpack the bus, and just do our best to warm up and get going. And it was a shit show. It was only 1-0 Wisco after the first, but then I was think to see 18 shots in the first. So I was like, all right, I was happy with that, but I was dead.
Yeah.
I had nothing left. So go out for the second. He pulls me just to get me out of there. It was 4-0 at that point, and it was like 7 minutes into the second. But I'm like, I had nothing left. Like, I literally was.
You gave everything you had the game before.
Exactly. And then, but anyway, so that was kind of the backstory on like our time with them, and we hadn't played them. That was the first time we played them in 3 years, I think, just because of COVID and stuff like that. We were tied at 1, or actually we were up 1-0, and then they tied it at 1. And I was like, shit, like we got this. We got this. 4 minutes left in the third. Screened, but it gets tipped off my own guy and goes in off of the stick.
We hate
and
that.
I got a piece of it too. I was heartbroken. And then, pulled me with like minute 30 or whatever left in the third. 16 seconds left in the game. We hit the post twice.
Oh my.
So it was there. Like it wasn't meant to be. And, like I said, like go from highs to lows. Like that was such a high Friday night beating Minnesota to this was such a low where I knew our season was over at that point. It honestly, and I don't remember the goalie's name, but props to the goalie at Wisconsin. That guy was a beauty. He battled all year and all game. And honestly, I was such a mess after that game. Like I was I was almost out of tears because I was just so like heartbroken by
Yeah.
how close we were to being in the championship. Because honestly, we were going to play Mankato in the championship. We knew that, and we had beaten them already twice that year. So like we knew, or once, but
Yeah.
and we knew we could beat them. So I was like sick, but it sucked. And he actually helped me kind of like get off the ice because like when you're like that heartbroken, your body just kind of goes to jello. You can't move. You don't want to get off the ice. Like he actually just helped. He came over. He's like, dude, you've been the backbone like all year. Like you this is not on you. You played unreal. Cause like I saw 41 off 43 shots. So I'm like,
you did your part.
Yeah. Like I did my part. Like, and it just wasn't meant to be.
Yeah.
But yeah, like the highs and lows of that. And then, I mean, it was kind of dumb too. Cause at that point, there's nothing else to play for besides pride if you play like a consolation game.
Yeah.
But of course they, it's 2023. Well, at that time, 2022, but they did consolation games. So, which is so stupid. I hate that they do that. Honestly, I want to get that taken out because it's stupid. Like, so we were playing.
What are you winning? Like,
we're playing for third place. We don't get a trophy or anything. This is actually the banner from last year. I had the commissioner of the league actually gave it to me because he was like, hey, I know you've put so much time and effort and like you're the reason they're here this year. I was like, no, we did as a team. It's like, but anyways, and so we had to play for the third place game against Wisconsin Eau Claire, and we didn't play them at all. Or no, we split with them that last year. But again, this turnaround, it went from Friday was a 6 p.m. game, Saturday was 5 p.m. And then the Sunday consolation game was 10:30 a.m. I just played both. Yeah. I'm dead. I have zero energy left. I think it was like 1 or 2-0 after the first, and it was Eau Claire that had 2. So I was like, whatever. But I'm already gassed. And then after the second, it was 6-1. And I literally I told our coach, I was like, because he asked me, he was like, look, I don't know if you're coming back, because I hadn't decided yet if I was coming back. I was like, I don't know if you're coming back. I know this might be your last time you're on the ice with this team. Like, what do you want to do? And I was like, dude, like, I was like, that's your call. Like, if you want me in there, I'm not gonna, like, you know me long enough. Like, no, like if you want me in there, I'm not going to give up. I'm going to keep battling. I was like, I'm gassed. I was like, I'm giving it everything I got. I'm dead, but I'll keep going. But if you want me out, like, I understand, respect it. He's like, I've done this to you all year. I can't keep putting you through this shit show. Like, I got to get you out. Like, I got to, like, I can't put you through this as for your last game. Like, that's not fair to you at all. I was like, in my head, I was pissed, but I was also like, thank God.
Yeah. You're relieved.
Yeah. But then like I said, that you could tell just how emotional that weekend was, and that emotional roller coaster, the high, the lows, and then another low. And again, dude, like as soon as he told me that, like I just broke down, and I didn't even have tears to cry at that point. And like, I'm sure people are gonna be like, oh, you're soft for crying. I really don't care.
It shows that you care and that you're putting
and I love the game
you have into it.
Yeah, exactly. Like I love the game. I was like, because it hit me. It sunk in right away. As soon as he said, I got to take you out. Like, I can't do this to you. It hit me right away. And our team manager, Callista, she's been there through thick and thin with me. She's been my venting person after games or practices a lot of times. And she literally just like came up and gave me the biggest hug. She was like, Schmids, like, I love you so much. I'm so proud of you. Like, this is not on you. Like, we let you down. Awesome. Like, and it like, then that made me cry more too. I'm like, stop it. And then, it was just nuts that whole weekend, and I'll never forget that. But yeah, that was definitely the highest point and the best moment I'd say of my college career was beating Minnesota. That was, I don't think I could ever top that. You know, and honestly, especially this year, like they smoked us this year. Smoked us. Not even gonna say the score because I'm sure people can look it up and figure that one out. But that's normal. They smoke us every year. Regular season, it's like playoffs. We just happen to get the best of them, and and we were also down guys in playoffs too. But yeah, it was crazy.
Yeah, that's a great story. Like, it just shows that you put everything you have into every single game that you play. Like, you may have, like, they were on a 4-year winning streak against you guys, and like put everything you had into it. and came up with the W and the best game of your college career. Like, there's nothing better than that, especially when you're putting every single like little piece of effort into these games, no matter what.
Yeah, it was definitely awesome. It was 100% a team effort too, because
Yeah.
I was actually playing with a pulled groin that weekend too, because we played
Again.
again. Yeah, again. Well, I tore my groins when I was younger. I tore both of them, so I had
Yeah.
surgery on those. But yeah, um, we played in Hockey Day Mankato last year outdoor, so that was actually sick. So we played like against Mankato, and that was the sickest experience I'd say I have had in my college career, because you can't be playing outdoors in a college game. Like, that's just
Yeah.
unreal. Except for the sole fact of it was a 9 p.m. start and it was negative 18 degrees out.
How are
That
your
just
fingers and your feet?
non-existent. I couldn't feel them. It
You're just
and
running
but
off
the worst
adrenaline.
part, yeah, the worst part about it was they didn't tell us this. No on ice warm up. And so this didn't count as like an actual like ACHA game, thankfully.
Yeah.
So it was just kind of like a fun game, but
Yeah.
we didn't know that until we got there. And
Yeah.
so no on ice warm up, right into the period. Like, you
Just
skate out.
cold.
Yeah. And then it was 2 20 minutes, like 20-minute periods running time. That's it. No ice cuts either. Just like a minute or two break in between. I'm like, really? That's
Imagine the
it?
second period there. Just ice, just snow everywhere.
And it was snowing too. Oh yeah, it was a shit show. But I mean, it was so fun. But yeah, literally first or second shot of the game, it was like maybe 2 minutes in. Yeah, full splits. Like, you might have seen the pic on my Instagram of like
Yeah.
outdoor, like that
Yeah.
black pitch. Yeah, it was that. It was literally that play. Full splits. Made the save. Made the rebound save. It was so cold though. I didn't feel it. I didn't feel
Yeah.
anything wrong. And then the next morning, I'm like, oh, I'm pretty sore. I was like, all right, well, I did see a lot of shots that night, whatever. And it was cold. Like,
Yeah.
nothing. Didn't think anything of it. So that was a Tuesday night we played. Then we had Friday, Saturday games that weekend. Uh, and after the Friday game, I was like, I played that. And I was like, something's not right. And like, obviously, because I've had surgery on both, I knew the feeling and I knew what
Yeah.
it was like. I was like, something's not right. So I played Saturday, wasn't feeling great. Tried to practice Monday. And I shit you not, I couldn't even drop into the butterfly
Oh,
because it was like pulled so much. And I still tried to practice because, I'm thick headed.
yeah.
My coach literally said, Schmids, get the fuck off the ice. You're done for the week. I'm shutting you down, because we had, what was it? Yeah, we had a week off, or like a weekend off. So we had the hockey day game, then those
Yeah.
two games, then that whole week. So we had a week Monday through Thursday of practice, had Friday, Saturday off, and then following week of practice, and then we had our last two regular season games before playoffs. And so he's like, dude, take the week off. You're not touching the ice all week. I'm like, all right. I was pissed, but I was like, thank God. In
Yeah.
the end, I'm thankfully did it.
Good
Anyway, so
call.
then yeah, finally, it still wasn't 100%. And then played last two regular season games. It was all right. Didn't really make it worse, but like didn't help it. And then, he said, look, I know we're going into playoffs. You need to feel 100%, but you're not skating Monday or Tuesday.
Yeah.
Maybe Wednesday, Thursday you can skate. So I
Yeah.
didn't even skate the first 2 days that week. And that sucked. But then finally skate Wednesday, Thursday. Felt fine. Felt like pretty much 100% recovered. Like, still felt sore, but like recovered, like didn't hurt
Yeah.
to stretch out or anything. Yeah. And obviously, though, just because of that first Friday Gopher game, like that was just such a long game. I didn't pull it until the second overtime. So I was like, and it was a full split save too that I made. So I was like, hey, I made the save, but it's like,
Yeah.
and my teammate's like, is it your groin? Because as soon as I did it, I was like wincing, because I was like, I got stuck too in that position. Like my hip, like
Oh my
got
God.
caught, like, and like just kind of get stuck in the position.
Yeah.
But I had to hold my ground though, because the puck was under me and like under my pads or my skate. So I had to like hold my ground, and I'm like just cramping and spasming. And I was like, shit.
Please blow the whistle, ref. Please blow the whistle right now.
Yeah, he did. And then I was like, I was so mad. And then he was like, you good? I was like, no, it's fine. And then one of my teammates came. I was like, groin. I was like, yep. He's like, dude, come out. I was like, fuck no, we're not losing this game. I was like, nah, not a chance that's happening.
No, not at all. We'll battle through anything. Like
Exactly.
you could think that Like you be in pain on the ice and you're like, nope, I'm staying in the game until the game's over.
Oh yeah. Like I forget. I was super sick like last semester, because there was something going around,
Yeah.
and I lost my voice and everything. Like
Well,
I
I did
literally,
too.
yeah, I couldn't even like swallow like because it would just be my nose and throat would be
Yeah.
filled with mucus. Like I couldn't even
Yeah.
swallow, so like I couldn't catch my breath. I literally played a game through that. Like you could see me just like
Yeah.
like just struggling to catch my breath during the game. But it's like, we'll play through anything. We're tough. We're tough SOBs.
Exactly. And then you go into this year where you're captain for the team. So like obviously throughout the 4 years, like you showed that you're able to be a captain and a big leader on the team. So like what's it been like to be a captain?
Honestly, it was such a big honor. Like I didn't think it was actually going to happen, because I was assistant captain for 2 years. I was already honored with that.
Yeah.
And, it's so uncommon nowadays. I feel like it's becoming a little more common, but
Yeah.
it's still pretty uncommon for goalies to have letters. So it was just surreal. And it was such an honor to even have that A. And then for them to vote me for the C, I was like, kidding me? Like, what? And it was sick. So we actually have 2 C's and 2 A's this year, just because obviously we had to have another C, just because I
Yeah.
can't just be the lone C, obviously, just
Yeah.
for talking to the refs and stuff.
The goalie's gonna come out of his crease just to talk to the ref.
Yeah, just to go to the refs. Or yeah, exactly. So it's like I understood that, but it's been an honor and been awesome. It's like, and so many guys too. They're like, oh, I want a letter. I was like, don't care about the letter, like,
Yeah.
because at the end of
You
the
can
day,
still be a leader without a
yeah.
letter.
And honestly, and I told one of our seniors that, because he might come back for his 5th year, and I told him that this year because he's like, if coach wants me back, like, give me a letter. I was like, dude, that's why you're never gonna get a letter in your life,
Yeah.
because that type of attitude. Because literally, my sophomore year here, I had only played 2 games my freshman year here, because we actually had Jackson Castor, who's on our men's NCAA D1
Yeah.
team. He was my goalie partner freshman year because he didn't. He had some like school issues, like academically, that
Yeah.
they had to put him on our team just to get that going, and he's fine now. He's
That must have
tearing.
been sick to have him on the team too.
Oh yeah, it was unreal. Like he played in the USHL, played for the Shreveport Mudbugs in the NAL, won the championship with them, was the MVP of the championships and playoffs. Like he's unreal. Such a great guy. Love him to death. And so I only played 2 games that year. I knew I was only gonna play like 1 or 2 games.
Yeah.
I was perfectly fine with that, because then him and another senior were graduating. Well, he was going to the D1 team and then the senior was graduating. So I knew we had 4 goalies that year. So I knew it was me and another kid, and starting spot was up for grabs. So I was like, sick. But I also lived on campus in apartments, but like we had a washer and dryer. So because we didn't have the best setup where we don't have laundry or anything, for our gitch and jerseys, socks, all like towels,
Yeah.
every practice, every game, I would take the bags, I would wash them myself just for the guys. Cause I was like, hey, if I can't
He's
be
for the
helping
boys.
guys, yeah. Well, and I was like, if I can't help you guys on the ice, might as well help you off the ice.
Yeah.
And I wasn't doing that to get a letter by any means,
Yeah.
like, but then it kind of, I won't say got to my head, but I was pissed when we did captain's voting my sophomore year. At first, I was pissed because I didn't get an A. I was like, this is like such bullshit. And then I was like,
Yeah.
when I look back on it, even after that year, I was like, I didn't even deserve an A. Like, why? I'm like, good. I'm glad I didn't get one. Like, I was glad that I didn't get one that year, because I was like, I wasn't ready for it. And I knew that.
Mm-hmm.
But then I popped off that year and had a really good year. And then, also did a lot for the team still, like off the ice and everything. And then ended up getting the A my junior year. And so I'm also actually the president and treasurer of the team too. I've done that for 3 years.
There we
So
go.
we have our coach, he runs the team on the ice, but off ice, administrative, travel, like schedule, hotels, buses, all that BS. Yeah, that's all me. It's been stressful and to say the least, but I've learned a lot, honestly. And
Yeah.
I joke sometimes and say I learned more doing that than I did in my classes. But it's also the truth, because you learn from experience. Yeah. That's just doing it. And yeah, I mean, having the A for 2 years was awesome. Like I appreciated it so much. But it's like you get to a point where you forget you have it sometimes. Like, because in reality, like it shouldn't matter if you have
just a normal player playing the game you love.
It shouldn't matter if you have a jersey material and a letter on your jersey or not. Play the same way.
Yeah.
And like that's the thing that like I preach to the guys too, is I was like, look, because there was talk about like re-voting for captains this year, just because we had some issues with like our other leadership guys that have letters. And so we were talking about just like stripping everyone's letters and redoing it, or giving everybody C's or everyone A's, or just like stripping it all together. And I straight up told her, because our coach asked me, "It's like, you okay with this?" I was like, "Dude, I could give two shits if I have a letter or not.
Yeah.
I'm gonna play the exact same way." Now, don't get me wrong, deep down, like at the end of the day, when I'm older and I look back, it would mean a lot to have it, obviously.
Yeah.
But it's like, at this time, if I have a C or not, or even if I have an A or not, I'm playing the exact same way. And that's how it has to be. It's like people that like get a letter and then it goes to their head.
Yeah.
I hate that. And that's one of our guys right now. But yeah, I won't say who, obviously. But yeah, it's definitely been an honor for sure. And I'm, as much as this year sucked for us as a team, we've slowly, very slowly but surely started to show some improvement. So I am proud of the boys for that. It's just a lot of it was just a lot of toxicness and like, bitching and complaining about this. And it's the effort, or it's the effort that they put in. They don't put a ton of effort in sometimes, but it's also the era of participation trophies. That's what you're starting to see nowadays, and kids are soft. And I actually just was doing a discussion post for one of my classes earlier today, and it's a leadership class, and it was use an experience that you've had in your life where you've been in a leadership role where some people agree with what you do and some don't. And great example is my team, because if you were to do a vote on our team right now, 3/4 of the guys would say I'm a great leader. Probably a quarter of the team would say I'm a terrible leader and that I suck, because they're salty that I call them out on their shit, and that I hold them accountable.
Yeah.
And it's like, I'm never trying to be a dick or like be rude or disrespectful to anybody, but at the same time, I have a
If
job
you
to do
want
too.
something, you want everyone to be accountable.
Yeah.
You
It's
want
like,
to have the same goal.
yeah, like, and everyone's held accountable from the coaching staff down.
Yeah.
It's like, that's like, if say, because we have a rule for practices, like if you miss one practice, you sit a period. If you miss 2 practices, you're scratched for a game. If you miss 3, you're scratched for a weekend. You miss more than that, which thankfully has only happened to one guy. We ended up kicking him off, but it's up to the team and like the leadership group and the coach at that point. What you do, you kind of talk about that, but you're suspended for that time forward. And it's like, that would be the same as even if I miss a practice, sit me for a period or just scratch me for a game. Like, you got to hold me accountable. Granted, that's never going to freaking happen, but like, I'm never going to miss one, obviously, but you know what I mean, though. It's like, guys are just so soft that, like, I'm sure you guys still do court. Yeah. We've done court once this year, because and we did it the first weekend we were in Jamestown, and on the road on the bus ride back, like that's a pretty good time to do it, in my opinion. And guys bitched about it so much, and they're like, "What? This is so stupid. Why are we paying this?" And then they're like, like the rookie blanket, that's like $1 fine. I was like, and it's not like we're just pocketing the money. It's going towards like team parties, not even for drinking, just for getting food, or for post-game stuff, getting food for post-game. Like, that's all it's going towards. It's not like it's even going towards booze. Why are you guys so soft? Like, and in that court, I got fined $15.
15.
Oh yeah. Well, because our max fine's $5.
You got to triple that.
Yeah. Well, I'm debating if I should expose myself for this one here, but
don't.
Yeah.
But hey, you're for the boys. You're just making everyone accountable, making sure they're all doing what they should be doing. Like, that's all you can ask for as a captain.
And it's like, it's like, I'm just trying to do my part. And it's like, I've been there for guys. Like, we've had a guy come literally bawl his eyes out to me and just like vent about like stuff in his personal life going on. It's like, yeah, it sucks like dealing with it, talking about, but it's also like, I'm glad I can be there, and that like, it's not even that I feel like I have to. It's like, I'm glad that they trust me enough to talk to me about it, like, because they don't have to come talk to me. They could talk to someone else, but it's like the fact they trust me enough means a lot to me. But yeah, like we haven't done court since then, because honestly, the other captains and I, we got sick of everybody bitching. So we said, fine, you guys don't want to pay, because half the guys wouldn't pay. And then we're just like, you don't want to pay, fine, we won't do it. And then they bitch about not doing it. I'm like, makes sense.
Yep. You totally can see that. But But this past summer, you were in a pro free agent camp with the Watertown Wolves, where I was as well. That's where our paths crossed. Like, what was your experience with being at a pro free agent camp?
Honestly, that was the first one I've been to, and obviously not the last, but that was an unreal experience just from the top down, getting, fed, getting, hydration and stuff, having a trainer there, just the professionalism of it
Yeah.
and how organized and legit it was. Like, everybody says the Fed is a joke. We've all heard everybody say, "Oh, the Fed's a joke. It's glorified beer league. You're just getting paid $125 or up to $250 a week just to play glorified beer league." It's like, well, okay, buddy,
You go try and play.
or how's sitting on your couch in your mom's house in the basement? So shut your mouth. And like, I'm not even playing there yet. Hopefully I will, but it's like,
Yeah,
and if
you
it
will
doesn't
you will be soon.
hopefully, yeah. But no, it was awesome just to see it, how like legit, serious, professional it was. It's like,
Yeah.
and I'm sure there are some teams in the league that are not like that. I won't name names, but I know one for a fact that is not like that because I was at a free agent camp for them. But yeah, it's like, it was awesome to see, and obviously got to meet a beauty in you there. So that was awesome. Yeah, definitely a great experience overall. Really glad I went.
Yeah, it's just such a professional experience, and like you said, with getting fed, like the training staff, the coaching staff, like practices, scrimmages ran very well and organized and all that. And I literally hate how people like the Fed is a joke, like all that. Like, you go try and play. Like, you guarantee you can't go and play. Like, it's just such a like those guys that are in the league are so skilled, and the pace of the play is very fast. So it's like it is a professional sport. It's a professional league for a reason, and like I don't know why anyone is questioning that.
And honestly, that's the same stuff with ACHA. They're
Yeah,
like, it's just club hockey. Like,
yeah,
literally, one of the refs at Minnesota this year said, it was a Saturday night game, and at the Friday night game in Warren, he's like, "So you guys staying in town and going out and getting hammered tonight?" I'm like, "No, we're going back to St.
we
Cloud
have
because
a game. Yeah,
it was only an hour drive, but like for that we just drive ourselves. I wish we didn't, but financially
yeah,
it's whatever. But anyways,
yeah.
so he was like, "Oh well, you're gonna go out in St. Cloud?" I'm like, "No." It's like, "Why not?" I was like, "We got a
We
game
have
tomorrow."
hockey. We have
He's like,
hockey.
"So?" He's like, "We have a 24-hour rule. We don't drink." He's like, "It's just club hockey. Who gives a shit?" Like,
Some
and it's like people like
a
that where they're
lot.
like,
Yeah.
it's just drinking or it's just like shit hockey with your
Yeah.
buddies. And I was like, okay, well, did it used to be that? Oh, absolutely. Like,
Hmm.
even just myself personally seeing the difference from our league in the WCCHA of freshman year to my 5th year now,
Yeah.
it has changed drastically and in a good way. Like, it has gotten so much more professional and organized compared to when it used to be. And it's awesome to see it continue to grow like that because there's just still that stigma around it. It's just club hockey and
Yeah.
it's basically glorified intramurals. That's what people describe it as. And I'm like, okay, well, how about you go play and get your shit wrong every game?
Yeah.
Like, have fun.
Yeah. And like literally, like the ACHA has grown so much that literally some of like honestly, like a lot of the teams could take on NCAA teams, and if they
Oh,
can't win, they'll be close. But like I know a bunch of teams that could play
well, look
NCAA
at
teams
like
from the
last
ACHA and
year.
win.
Yeah, look at last year with Liberty's D1 team.
Mhm.
Liberty's just gross. One of my buddies
They're
actually.
NCAA now. Or no,
Uh,
no, that's Lindenwood. Linden was
yeah, it's Lindenwood.
NCAA
Yeah.
now, and they were ACHA.
But yeah, and so yeah, Liberty's ACHA D1 team played LIU's D1 team last year. They
Hmm.
swept them.
Yeah,
It's like, now, and I'm not saying that's every ACHA team by any
yeah,
means. Now,
yeah,
when I say top ACHA D1 teams, some top ACHA D2 teams, they could beat easily the bottom NCAA D3 teams.
oh
That
yeah,
I don't doubt
yeah,
in my mind. It's the stigma of when people say, "Oh yeah, any ACHA team could beat an NCAA team." That's just bullshit
yeah,
because that's just not the truth. NCAA is very good hockey.
oh yeah,
The only difference between Div 3 NCAA and ACHA D1 is the speed and physicality. That's it.
yeah,
And you're on scholarship usually for that. And D3 and Div 1 or NCAA are very different too, because,
yeah,
NCAA, it's not as physical. It's physical, but just D3 NCAA, you're hitting a lot more and it's just more dumb after the whistle shit. NCAA is smarter, like for D1, But yeah, I mean, it drives me crazy when people just say like, oh, like the Fed's a joke, or oh, it's just club hockey. Like that stuff drives me nuts.
Yeah, it's a joke. Just normalize those leagues and just they're legit contending leagues. Like stop bashing on those leagues.
Oh yeah.
But Schmids, this has been a lot of fun. I really appreciate your time, and I want to wish you the best of luck with the rest of the season. And hopefully we catch each other sometime soon, whether it be in the Fed, SB, wherever.
No, absolutely, man. Thanks for having me on here. It was a blast.